Hello and welcome to the Greek verse of the week. In my weekly podcast, I'm in Revelation 8. So I picked a Greek verse from Revelation chapter 8. Behind me, we have Albrecht Dürer's woodcut of one of the seven angels blowing the trumpet. Anyway, I picked a verse 12, because I thought it had a little bit of interesting Greek grammar. I was tempted to do the verse on wormwood, which is actually, I think, the previous verse to this, or it's either the previous one or two previous. But this verse I thought had more interesting grammar. So let's go ahead and begin. Kai ho teteros angelos esalpisen, kai elplege to triton. Okay, there's a little, for those of you who like to hear the Greek read, at least in an Erasmian kind of style. So here's the translation. And the fourth, the teteros angelos, the fourth angel, sorry, should be the fourth. What's wrong? The right and left sides of my brain weren't working. One moment, please. There, I was just testing you. It's the fourth. And the fourth angel sounded the trumpet. I don't know what it sounds like, but blew the trumpet. This is a aorist. We can tell it's aorist because, well, first of all, here's my process. A nu with an epsilon in front of it is almost always a movable nu. Throw it away. Epsilon by itself is a very common third person singular past tense ending, active. And with the sigma in front of it, it is aorist, active, indicative, third singular. Actually, from those last three letters, just from those three letters alone, I know that this is aorist, active, indicative, third person singular. So I'm not surprised to find an augment on the front. And this is from salpidzo, the zeta on zeta words like baptizo, salpidzo, those sorts of words. The zeta is a dental and it falls out, and we're just left with the sigma. Anyway, so this is aorist, active, indicative, third singular from salpidzo. Blew the trumpet. Notice, for those of you who are novices to Greek, you'll realize that Greek words do not in any way map one-on-one to English words. Some people, when they first start off with language, they just assume, well, language is just a matter of memorizing the equivalent words in the other language. Not at all. That is a completely wrong. I mean, that is, you know nothing about languages if that's your sense of things. And I'm not trying to make you feel bad. I'm just saying that's like day one of any language, almost, to realize that languages do not map neatly from one to the other. They each do their own thing, their own way. So blew the trumpet. The fourth angel blew the trumpet, and the third was struck. Okay, now this is an irregular form. And I'll have to look up what the actual dictionary word is because some stuff is going on here. I'm not going to guess. I'll tell you whether my guess is right when I look it up. But I will tell you that there's a missing theta here. This is what we call a second aorist passive. The aorist passive, which is, for simplistic reasons, a past tense passive, was struck. Past tense was struck, and then passive. It's not striking, it's being struck. Aorist passive, indicative, third singular. It goes thein, theis, they. So this is third singular. The augment on the front, not surprising. So it's something like, I don't know, plague knew me. I will look it up very soon. But it's aorist passive. I can parse it without knowing exactly what the dictionary form is. It is aorist passive, indicative, third singular. Was struck. Okay, now let me look up what it is. Is it plague knew me? Nope, it's plaso. Okay, so again, it's a little bit irregular. So it is aorist passive, indicative, third singular from plaso, to strike. So was struck. Sigma sigma verbs in Greek are not, they're not normal, shall we say? That is, the stem is different from the sigma sigma. For those of you who know Greek, you know what I'm saying. Don't worry about it. Anyway, and the third was struck of the sun. A third of the sun was struck. Now, I'm not sure that this makes sense in terms of physics. Oh, I mean, it could. I mean, you could easily, God could, of course, easily take a third of the hydrogen of the sun and bleh. Now, I suspect that if God did that, it would not look like a third of the sun was burned out. It would just be a shorter period to the end of the sun's life. What I'm getting at here is actually a couple things. The first is that at most we're talking about how the sun appears. We're not actually talking about what is physically happening to the sun. Maybe. However, I would push beyond that and say that this is all symbolism. This is not giving us how things necessarily will actually. I could be wrong, and I'm glad to be wrong. But like plague to me, I'm often wrong, but educatedly wrong. I'll put it that way to save face. But I have a hunch that this is not how things will ever appear at a particular point in time. This is symbolic. This is a picture of judgment that we're having here. So third of the sun and the third of the moon, Selena, the moon, and the third of the stars. So basically, if you would listen to the podcast, this verse is talking about, or the chapter is basically showing that a third of all of the world as it appeared to them is affected. That's the symbolic point. And so we've had the seas, a third of the seas affected, a third of the land affected, and this is a third of the skies are affected. The whole universe is groaning with humanity in its judgment. Anyway, so if, for those of you who want the Greek read, tu heliou kai to triton tes selenes. Again, modern Greek people says it's not selenes, it's selenis. Anyway, sorry, selenes. I'm Erasmian. Greek underwent a change of pronunciation a couple hundred years before the New Testament, and so this tends a little bit more toward the classical pronunciation. Kai to triton ton austeron. Okay, so a third of the skies is being toast. And then to finish up, now I'm not sure where my face shows up on your recording, but hina scotiste to triton auton kai hemera. Hey hemera. Hey hemera. Okay, so in order that, purpose clause, or actually probably more result. Hina usually either indicates a purpose clause or a result clause. Let's go with result. With the result that, now I had an order that. I think with the result that, now that I'm into it, is better. There, that's better. With the result that, again, notice 4 English words mapped to 1 Greek word. With the result that might be darkened the third of them. So this is scotiste. Theta eta has me thinking aorist passive. Because hina, subjunctive is coming. Subjunctive is coming. This is subjunctive. Aorist passive subjunctive. Third person singular. Oase a from scotidzo. Another idzo word. Okay. With the result that might be darkened, the third of them. This is the subject. In order that with the result that the third of them might be darkened, and with the result that the hina carries over here too. So I'm expecting another subjunctive is coming, another subjunctive is coming, in order that the day might not appear. Might not appear. So with the subjunctive, this word for not, there are 2 words for not. There's u, which is used with the indicative, and there's may that's used with the subjunctive. And hina takes a subjunctive in New Testament Greek. In classical Greek, it can also do an indicative. That's not important right now. In the New Testament, it pretty much exclusively is used with the subjunctive. And so this rock skips twice across the pond, in order that scotiste, in order that phane. Phane is the aorist, again, subjunctive, aorist active subjunctive, third singular, from phino, to appear. The day might not appear. Now, this is a dative of, an accusative of reference with respect to the third of them. It looks like it's kind of dangling out there, but there is a grammatical category for this type of construction with regard to the day might not appear with regard to the third of it, with regard to the third of the day. This is feminine because it's telling us about the day. Feminine singular because it's going with hemera, which is feminine singular. This is, of course, genitive because it's the third of it. And the night, similarly. Okay. Um, so basically, the result here, again, we're probably expressing this result within an ancient worldview, which is not a scientific worldview as we think of it. But basically, the point is that the day shortens by a third and the night shortens by a third, which I'm not quite sure exactly what that means, except it could be the cycle of day and night. But again, I actually don't think that we should try to equate this to something that might actually happen in time. I think this is more a highly, highly symbolic way of expressing that the judgment is beginning, much like the statement, the trees will clap their hands. I'm not even sure what that would mean literally. Trees would have to have hands, or maybe the branches would be clapping or something like that. I just don't think that that kind of an imagery is meant to be taken as something that will actually happen. But it is a picture. It is a way of expressing in incredibly, fantastically poetic form that the it's really bad. I mean, that's the point. It's going to be really bad. Well, I could be wrong on these things, but we have done our Greek for the week.